Okay, it's recording again.
All right. For those of you who don't know, this channel is all about helping researchers do great things, and I'm really interested in entrepreneurship too. So we actually have Mohamed Kamara here, and he's doing some really interesting projects with her. He's got a cool startup reaching out to the medical community at this moment, and I just thought he would be interested in sharing what he's doing, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, Dave, thanks again for having me on. So one of the things that we do is, my personal story is what brought me to healthcare. My sister passed on childbearing, which is she died of preeclampsia in Sierra Leone. So it was a third world country. This never happens in our world here. We're made in developed countries like the United States. So she passed. She left behind 3 kids: 19-year-old, now a 24-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 12-year-old. They're my caregivers. They're my little kids that I take care of. But then fast forward 4 years ago, same situation happened in Ohio. My aunt passed. My aunt passed of preeclampsia as well, but the son survived. The son is 4 years old now, and my dad and my stepmother are caregivers for the son. So we've kind of ripple effect started this company called Innovator. So we went down to DC and launched it in 3 clinics in DC. We've got 2,500 users, and then 500 this year we added. But we launched the product, but that was part telehealth and wellness, right? It's a patient and a provider app on iOS and Android. So it's an interesting product, especially in the time that, because of COVID, everybody wants to do it telehealth now. We started doing it before COVID, but now everyone wants to do telehealth, from large hospital systems, so smaller clinics. Everyone wants to do telehealth, and now what we've done is we've created the telehealth, but also as well as the wellness piece, right? We support organizations that are locally here in the US, but then as well as we do some work around supporting NGOs in Haiti, and then Rwanda. So it's really combining a social impact point of view as well, right? You're doing good, you're selling the product, but as well as there's a good in the world that you want to create change. Like for us, our close story, because of my sister's past, is affecting a positive change in women's health, right? They're ensuring that the underserved get the best care that they can through our technology, and our providers as well.
So what would you be able to tell researchers that are interested in doing the entrepreneurship route, or somebody that is, a graduate student? There's lots of graduate students I watch this channel and stuff, and they're thinking of maybe once they're done grad school of going and doing entrepreneurship. Because you mentioned earlier that in an off conversation that you have an MBA. I don't know if you want to talk about that in terms of your venture.
Yeah, so Dave, interesting question. So part of the thing that we did was, in terms of doing customer discovery, there's a lean startup mentality, right? But there's an organization, NSF. NSF has a ICOP. So we went through an ICOP program, right? ICOP program where you are doing more customer discovery. This was GW, and then University of Maryland ICOP program I went through just recently too. And you're doing customer discovery, you're interviewing people, trying to figure out whether or not this product makes sense. You're still trying to solve a problem, right? That's the research piece. So your research piece comes into place. Like, you're being a true researcher, and I have to be a researcher, right? You're having a lot of conversation, figuring out which market, which customers potentially can buy your product, right? So at first, even if you don't have a product, you just have an idea. This is a way to do your research. Really having conversations with those decision makers and figuring out which of the decision maker can pay you for your product, right? And at what price. You're researching this. So I went through ICOP. I had I think close to like 200 interviews, customer discovery interviews. And part of that solution is we're going also applying to NSF funding, right? Phase 1, right? So University of Maryland is helping us apply to funding for our application, where we can get a grant through NSF Phase 1, right? So this is placed right into you guys as researchers, where that's a nice way to go from ICOP. ICOP, you can go to ICOP National, you can get a 50K in terms of funding to do this customer discovery. And then the second phase of that is your NSF Phase 1 funding, right? Where you can get, sometimes some people have gone up to get $1 million, right? Through Phase 1 or Phase 2. So we're in the process of doing that as well. So I hope that answers your question and help.
Yeah, so you're applying to a bunch of grants then, basically, right? As the stage grants, yeah.
And then and the nuances around that is the fact that our technology is patented by NASA, so we're qualified for those things too, right?
So how did you get that patent then, or how are you working with,
It
or
was a technology transfer, right? So it's
okay.
like taking something from the lab and then transferring to So we went through a technology transfer.
Oh, very cool. So this was at NASA or University of Maryland or something like that, where you worked with?
Yep.
Yeah.
Technology transfer.
Oh, that's amazing. So is there anything that you want to tell researchers in that's thinking of doing maybe an entrepreneurship route or something like that at this moment?
Be ready to be flexible, right? I think off conversation we chat about this, Dave, where in entrepreneurship, be ready to be flexible, because sometimes I have an MBA, right? So I do understand the aspect of what it looks like to starting a company. And I went the traditional route first. So I started with corporate. So with EY, I was advising CEOs. So some of my clients were like DSW, Victoria's Secret, Limited Brands. So I was with a lot of retail clients. So Limited Brands is part of Victoria's Secret, right? The CEOs I was advising on the tax side and as well as the audit side, right? So I had that traditional business background, and then I also got an MBA. So I understand the aspect of what it means to start something from scratch from a business point of view and advising Fortune 500 companies. And creating processes. When you start your company, you have to create processes, right? So that you can be able to, when it's time to scale, it's repeatable processes that you have now. It's not just, oh, I'm going to patch this. If I hire new employees, is there the legal documents around those new employees, new hires, right? You have to think through that, HR. Now you've got to have the finance departments. Who's going to pay the bills? Who are your vendors, right? How much vendor, which do you hold? What's your cash flow? Some of those nuances too, right? All these different departments. So I have a thing that I organize by different. I have a folder that I organize with all these different departments of our business, from technology, research, all this stuff, right? But that's because I had a traditional background of what it looks like advising CEOs, corporate Fortune 500 CEOs. Now I'm just applying that now to my business. So luxury is the fact that I came from a traditional business guy. And then starting my own business where I understand processes and the importance of them. So if you haven't had that background, sometimes it's worthwhile to start in corporate and then go launch a venture, because then you have that flexibility to understand what it means to start something and then be able to have scalable processes to help you as you scale, right? I also work for a company that was acquired by owned by a private equity firm, right? I came in there, we cleaned up the books, and it was sold the company out, right? It was a CEO the CEO was actually part of the private equity firm. Came in, cleaned up the books, sold it, and then he went back to Chicago, right? I went back to public accounting. So I've seen those other aspects. So I'm different in terms of building a company where I've seen a few different things, as opposed to someone that's just 20-year-old, 22-year-old that haven't seen much of, fresh out of undergrad and wants to start this. It can be done, but you will need a lot of advisors to help you out along the side.
Yeah. Tell me how you feel throughout the process in terms of, I'm a big part of this channel is sort of getting to what it actually feels to like do innovative stuff, or, giving people encouragement to keep going. Tell me about what really would happen, or what really goes on.
I think it's curiosity, right? You have to be curious to what people are doing and how to solve their problem. That's where it starts. It's really asking. You got to be a child, and I don't mean it the most offensive belittle anyone that's watching this that's super smart. You all are incredible. You're PhD students. You're all pretty smart, but you have to be curious. You just got to ask why, right? And then all your hypotheses that you have, try your best to prove those hypotheses that are wrong, right? And as quickly as you can, through experimenting. I think that's essential, because what you're trying to do is build something that's repeatable, right? Repeatable sales process that you can get to scale. That's ultimately what you're trying to do. So as much as you can, you have your emotional side of the business, where if you can disservice yourself from that emotional, remove yourself from the emotional side and focus on here are how the metrics work, right? And be in love with the metrics. It helps you become a better business operator, right? So that because you're in love with your metrics, and your metrics are going to be your guiding tool, as opposed to I have this emotion and I'm only operating out of emotion. That's good too, right? Because you have to have the social aspect too on managing employees, managing different staff. Because when your employees may take off time off to go care for their family members, family members may have passed. You have to have empathy. Instead of saying no, don't take off. You got to work all the time like me. No, people that don't care much about your business, you're the one that care a lot about your business, and you're gonna spend those late hours. Not everybody's gonna be the same, but you still have to have empathy when they take off, right? That hey, I understand. Go take care of family. So that you have to have that critical skills, right? Numbers, data, and then the aspect of the soft skills of saying empathy. I think you become a better business operator.
I think that's true. And in all domains in life, I think that's so important to sort of balance those two and be well aware of, both the sort of empathy component, but at the same time, looking at making sure that you can put food on the table, right? Yeah. So is there anything else you wanted to tell the audience members at this moment, or?
So if you've got something, you got a great idea, go test it out, right? Just approach it as a research project. That's what I did. I went out there and tested out. I was in those clinics, and I was seeing 20 patients with providers. And I was there as a researcher until they found out that I actually have a product. And out of that actually came a book. I wrote a book out of that, right? To that research. So this is a way that you can actually creatively just still put on your research mindset and go there and go find out about the world and try to solve a problem.
I love that, Mohamed. I think you're well on your way with this, and we wish you the best with this project. I think it's gonna go a long ways. So for those of you who want to check it out, it's Innovacares, right? Am I saying that right? And I'll put the details in the show notes. So thanks so much. Appreciate you being on the channel.
Sure. Thanks for having me.